Quick, Doug.
You may ask, and you're going to be on the recording. Yes, please go ahead.
Is something going
Fine.
on? I don't have the ability to show my video for some reason, and I'm wondering if it's a room setting because I keep getting this thing. That they want to. Oh,
So now you're being bumped up. Congratulations, you graduated.
Hey.
So maybe that'll be the first thing that we'll mention. Hi, everybody. I'm Doug Brunke, and I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. Global Chamber started in this chapter, the Phoenix chapter. It actually started as another entity called the Arizona International Growth Group about 15 years ago. And then on a kind of a day in the history of Global Chamber, I had a bad meeting with the World Trade Center in San Diego. When I say bad, it was just not bad. It was more like disappointing that they didn't have the same vision that I had, which was we need to help people. We need to collaborate and get more businesses to be successful. And that means not looking at silos like I'm this group and I'm this group and we're all separate. We need to find ways to work together, whether it's groups or businesses or individuals. The way we're going to make progress and the way we're going to change this world and way we have impact is to get people involved. And so I clearly saw that they weren't going to do it. So that's how Global Chamber got formed as I drove, as maybe some of you in Arizona have done, drove from San Diego on Route 8 through that really kind of rocky area in that canyon, right? That
yep,
kind of
yep,
interesting drive, and then
yep.
that long stretch across the desert to Gila Bend. And you probably stopped to get gas there, and probably that's weird space cafe. And, there's, we've all been through that. And certainly Route 8 is a little bit better adventure than I-10, quite honestly, just because it's got less traffic. It's less pitted by trucks. It's just a better way. And through that better way, here we are with Global Chamber. Today, we have a lot of different speakers, and I certainly don't want to dominate the conversation because there's so many superstars here in the call. We've got about 50 more minutes, and we've got rapid fire superstars, global business, services, changing the world. And because it's Juneteenth, I thought it would be most appropriate to start with one of the most spectacular people, most impactful people that I know, happens to be in Phoenix, Jevin Hodge. He comes from a family of people who are impactors. He himself is doing all sorts of things to change not just the world holistically, but individual companies to see the opportunity and to capture it. Jevin, if you don't mind, could you kick us off with talking a little bit about Juneteenth, what that means to you, what that means to us, and I'm going to bet that that's going to get us started on the right foot.
I appreciate it, Doug, and thanks for bringing everybody together. Today, you are the collective tissue, as I like to call it, the global connective tissue that keeps us all connected. And so, just thank you for your leadership. For those of you I haven't met, Jevin Hodge, founder and CEO of the Amplify Global Impact Group. Our mission is simple: we connect problem havers with problem solvers, and we get to do it all over the world. But today, I'm joining you as a former member of the Arizona House of Representatives and the president of the NAACP of the East Valley. We are one of the largest branches in the country. I represent 2.2 million people as part of the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People. And my branch is among the top three largest geographically in the country. And I am the youngest president in the country. And so when you think about a 115-year-old civil rights organization, I am the youngest president of all of our branches across the country. So Juneteenth is a significant day, and Greg and Doug, thank you so very much for this opportunity to talk about it. Juneteenth is often called America's second Independence Day because it represents a moment when promise, freedom began reaching those who have been excluded from it, right? And so when you think about up until this point, slaves were enslaved. And if I give you a little bit of history about the holiday, it was commemorated on June 19th 1865, on a day where General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced that African Americans, blacks in this country, in Texas, were free. Now, this was 1 year almost to the day after the Emancipation Proclamation. And what makes this moment significant is this is, excuse me, not 1 year, 2 years almost to the day of the Emancipation Proclamation, which was issued in January of 1863. And so freedom was declared with the Emancipation Proclamation, but it was declared only in the spaces in which it was heard. And people often forget that little footnote of history. So if you weren't in the North and you weren't reading the papers, the freedom never reached you, no matter who you were, no matter where you were. And that's what makes Juneteenth so significant. And so for many of the enslaved people in Texas, one of the most remote parts of the Confederacy, because you got to remember at this point in time, Texas was not built out. The news of freedom um, made it there many years after it changed, and it is often noted by some historians that that slaveholders intentionally withheld this information, right? So if you were in Mississippi or Alabama and Florida, you were a part of the general economic routes, and so word traveled very quickly. If you were out west in Arkansas and Texas, you might have received the information but intentionally withheld it because there was no enforcement of the law. There was no enforcement that this was happening. And so I think that that is probably the most intentional lesson in the harshest realities of the power of Juneteenth, is that we were freed. We were allowed to be classified as everyday citizens, but most importantly, the information was withheld until this moment. But one of the things as a former lawmaker, it reminds me that freedom on paper and freedom in practice is not always the same thing. And this is a great reminder of that, and that the progress that we're seeing is not measured simply by what is declared, but what is delivered. And we got a moment right now in history where we're still fighting for those very same values, right? We're still fighting for people to be connected. We're still fighting for voices to be represented. We're still fighting for those moments. And then for African Americans, Juneteenth became a celebration of resilience, of faith, of family, of community, of life, right? A time to gather, a time to tell stories, a time to honor our ancestors, a time to celebrate the enduring belief that freedom and opportunity is worth fighting for. No matter who you are, where you are, or what you represent. But the way that I personally internalize Juneteenth is that it is not it is not for me something that I look backwards on, right, as a reflective holiday. I think that this is probably one of the best opportunities to look forward. Like I said, youngest president in the nation's longest running civil rights organization. History is not valuable when it teaches us about building the future. That is the only time when history is valuable, right? When we can learn from it, when we can grow from it. And what Juneteenth really does for me, it challenges us to ask, the really important questions of the day. Who are we fighting? Who are we fighting for? Right? Who needs opportunity? Who is the voices that are left from the table? Who's still waiting to fully be included? Right? When you think about access to education, when you think about access to housing, access to healthcare, access to economic mobility, economic freedom, or simply just justice, who is left out of the conversations in a country that is the land of the free, in the home of the brave? And so, as we look at this 160 years later, we're still having a lot of the same conversations that we had previously. And we're at a point in reflection in our history where we know for certain that we are stronger together. We know for certain when we have a diversity of thought, we have a diversity of resources, and a diversity of people at the table, our country is better. And if you allow me to bend your ear for one last second, I think about moments like now where democracy at its core is not a spectator sport. Democracy is a contact sport. We got to get involved. We got to get engaged. We got to make sure that the voiceless is at the table. Because as a self-proclaimed historian, the Declaration of Independence, in my opinion, is actually a declaration of interdependence. That all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their creators with those certain and unalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But the only way that we can secure those rights is governments are instituted among us, deriving those just powers from the consent of the governed. And what people often forget is that last sentence, that last clause of that sentence, deriving those just powers from the consent of the governed. And it just reminds me of this experiment that we call America. And as long as we continue to fight for the most vulnerable people to be at the table and the voiceless, and we fight for economic, educational, healthcare opportunity for all, the consent of the governed will always be strongest, because we've created space and opportunity for every person in our country to succeed. So, Doug, I really appreciate you. Thank you so very much for this opportunity. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. Happy Jubilee is another way of saying it. And do your research on this day. It's an important day in American history, and I really am grateful for this opportunity to share, Doug. So, thank you so very much.
Thank you. I'll give anybody that would like the floor and add to that. I'd like to also contextualize it from a standpoint of on the business side, and what I've at least derived is as of any business, that a lot of the beginning of Global Chamber was me sitting in Arizona saying, the world should recognize that as an Arizonan, I have something to say in the global world. I should have the freedom to be accepted by other people, even though I'm from Arizona. If it's a Canadian excluding me because I'm from the US or I'm from Arizona or I have the wrong skin color or I have the wrong religion, that's something I don't believe in. For whatever reason, I was raised that way. And so I think that's fundamentally at the base of what Global Chamber is all about, is connections to clients, successful businesses, getting information and connections to be successful, because everybody should have that opportunity no matter where they are, and they should be emancipated to be able to be successful. Does anybody have any additional comments that they'd like to make?
I'll jump in. Doug, first of all, thank you for organizing today. And I have to say that I feel much better after hearing President Hodge and all that he had to say. Um, Juneteenth is a reflection that has mixed emotions. And I believe that it's the opportunity that President Hodge spoke about that, really is the center of why we're here participating in Global Chamber. It's opportunity that in other environments and other business environments, simply put, are not provided to um, Black businesses at this current stage. We still have fundamental problems in business. Number one problem is access to capital. And as a retired veteran, 20 years serving in the United States Air Force, and being the former chairman to the Texas Association for African American Chambers, and being in San Antonio locally, I was the president for the Alamo City Black Chamber. I know that when we think about these opportunities that are presented on a global stage, on a global platform, these are the same opportunities that were never offered before that we are blessed to have today. And I would say that our commitment moving forward, because I think that your introductory song, "Waiting on the World to Change," is so apropos from the standpoint of this is what the world is saying to America, because we're not going back to 1950. And while that may be a sentiment, I think that even as we look at the World Cup and all the things that happen in this world, we are a collective of people who all want to not only work together but love together and develop a strong country together and have strong businesses together. And I'll say this, you have provided us at Global Chamber that very infrastructure that we need. In every single meeting that I've gone to in Global Chamber, I've not only felt welcomed, but I've been able to do business with people who I've never would have been in front of before. And so it's a testament to you and the beginnings of the Arizona International Growth Group that you failed with that name and you came up with something that we all could identify with, which is being a part of a global tribe. And with that, the responsibilities of being able to lift and help each other. Again, uh, I'm lifted. I have mixed emotions about the celebration of Juneteenth. First of all, I say, why did America have slavery from the beginning? If we didn't have slavery in the beginning, we wouldn't have a need for Juneteenth. But we did. And then when I visited Corpus Christi, and I was sitting with the mayor of Corpus, and they had on the agenda to listen to William Michael Cunningham, who is a Black economist based out of Washington, D.C. And he asked the audience, and the mayor in particular, he says, what happened to the $463 million that was lost in this city? And again, I'm in Texas, exactly where President Hodge talked about the history. And the mayor looked at William Michael Cunningham, who is an African American economist. And he showed how if you had supported, if the city would support these businesses and would live out the potential of the population, he says you would actually have $463 million and be in a stronger economic position. And so what he showed them, and they all embraced him, and they embraced the message was, look, when the nation decides or the city decides to include, there's much more benefit that it gets extended across the board uh, to economic development and growth. But when you have various policies or you have various ways that you choose not to invite certain people to the table, then you lose the benefit of having a robust economy, a robust participation, and you can only look at yourself as being a part of the problem. Thank God, Corpus embraced the message, and we're working now to see how we can help them to grow out their economy by including all segments of their work of their citizens, which is my reflection on Juneteenth. So thank you again. And for those who don't know me, I'm Christopher Herring. I'm the Executive Director for Global Chamber San Antonio, and I lead the steering group for Global Chamber Texas, and would love to be supportive of you in any and all endeavors in the future. So thank you again. Been with Doug and the Global Chamber since 2017.
And you have Arizona ties, don't you?
Yes. My son is stationed at Luke Air Force Base, and my daughter goes to Arizona State University. So yes, I think times two. And so we go back and forth, and the global chamber headquarters is just beautiful. I love to see the fact that we have such a great relationship with the Thunderbirds, and this is yeah, I guess I'm an Arizona citizen as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. But before we get too much further, and we can come back if you have some comments about Juneteenth, but I want to make sure because through I've got a commitment to Brad Rucker, CEO of the Mahoney Group, that within the first half hour he would be able to speak, and so I want to honor that commitment. So we still have over 30 minutes to go. So hopefully everyone will have some comments along the way. When we talk about elevating everyone, there's risk involved with that, and risk management is a key aspect of business. One of the ways that comes out is in insurance. And so I think for most of us, when we think about insurance, it doesn't seem like it's very exciting. although probably for Brad, it's much more exciting, uh, given that you've got a whole business around it, and it's a very successful business. It's a new member and a new sponsor for Global Chamber, and I want to make sure that. First of all, we all recognize the importance of risk management, number one. And secondly, just so happy and proud that the Mahoney Group, which is based in Chandler and operating quite much more broad, and I'll let Brad explain more about their product lines and what they're involved with, is such an essential part of business. And so, Brad, thank you for joining Global Chamber, being a sponsor and a supporter. We've also chatted about having utilizing the headquarters for the Mahoney Group for a future event for Global Chamber. Spectacular building. I've seen the pictures of it. It's just amazing. Could you let us just give us an introduction for the Mahoney Group and for yourself? Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for welcoming us and to be a part of all that is happening here. We're very excited to be part of the Global Chamber and very excited to get to know each and every one of you and learn ways in which that we can help serve each of your operations and serve the chamber in its entirety. I'm here with Josh Tinkle. Josh is the president of the organization. I'm the CEO of the company. A little bit about our firm that's fun. We a bit like what the history that we've just talked about. We're not quite as old as some of the things that have transpired. The 250 years of the United States coming up here pretty quickly. I didn't do the math real quick in my head there, but what is that? 100 and you can do the math faster than I can. Is that 135 and 25, 60, 160, 160, 165 years? Jamil, is that right? Did I do that math right there? That
Almost. Since 1865, you mean?
1865, is that two?
Close.
Yeah. Anyhow, that's 200 and yeah, just real excited to be a part. Thank you, Jamil. Thank you for taking the time to walk through Juneteenth. That was quite a bit of information that I was never aware of. I'm a little ashamed to have to share that that was new to us or at least to myself, but really excited to be a part. Uh, but we, Mahoney Group, are been around since 1915, founded in Arizona. And so we're 111 years old now, coming along right aligned with the birth year of the state of Arizona. So we've been right in alignment with Arizona and the growth that's occurred throughout Arizona. We've been a part of it all the way through. We started out in a small community called Ray, Arizona, which was a mining community and have been a part of Arizona's growth that's transpired ever since the last 111 years. Everything from the different economies that Arizona has gone through, the evolution of us as a state, State 48, as part of the United States has gone forth. And through that, we've expanded and been not only Arizona's largest independent insurance agency throughout most of that time, last 25, 30 years, we've been in that place. But in addition to that, have been a national and now a multinational firm helping out in risk mitigation, cost containment strategies, insurance as a way to finance part of that, both in all lines, whether that's commercial lines, employee benefits, personal lines, components that we help people mitigate risk and address those issues. But really, in many ways, as things have evolved over time, whether it's the United States' involvement as a country, whether it's Arizona's involvement as a country or state, or whether it's Mahoney Group's involvement over the last 111 years, we continue to be problem solvers and come in and help businesses, help individuals identify risks, identify challenges that they have, and build solutions to help them. And real excited to be a part of something on a global basis now where we can expand that and help people with their multinational needs that go beyond just operating within the United States. We're part of Assurance Global, which is the world's largest group of insurance brokers. We have operations with 600 partners in over 300 countries throughout the world. So, real excited to be here. Real excited to be a part of what you guys are continuing to build on a go-forward basis, and just looking for ways that we can serve the chamber and serve the individuals and the businesses that are a part of it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Brad. Josh, anything to add?
I think Brad pretty well covered it. We're just super appreciative to be part of the Global Chamber. We're a people-driven organization. We're here to help and want to be very involved in helping further the cause. So, one, just want to thank you guys for the opportunity for allowing us to be here, and looking forward to building great, long-lasting relationships with each and every one of you.
So what are the types of businesses that are best for the Mahoney Group? Who should we have in mind that are ideal targets for you, and where are they located?
You know, we do business throughout the world at this point, and so the types of businesses, what we really focus on, we have different verticals and different practices that we do. One of the things that is a highlight of what we're doing right now is really focused heavy on solving healthcare issues that are taking place for businesses in the United States, and working on ways to take risk management into the healthcare space. We, and I know that, for example, I know Dave's on the call, and risk mitigation has been something that's been involved in our industry, in the property and casualty lines of insurance for quite some time. We've come in and taken that same risk mitigation component around cost containment and addressing real issues into the employee benefits space as well. So, identifying ways in which that we can help employers who often are self-funded or partially self-funded in their plans to address rising costs that are happening, whether that's through PBM management or whether that's through reference-based pricing, or whether that's through building out different models that help them to identify risks that are inside their plans and address that in a unique manner. So that's a big component of what we do as well. We focus heavily in other lines of other business operations: construction, real estate, human services, manufacturing, technology, healthcare. So there's quite a few industry segments that we're involved in helping.
Beautiful. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts? Either for Jevon, or for Chris, or for Brad, or for Josh? Anything you'd like to add or comment on so far for the four speakers?
I'd just like to say welcome, Brad and Josh. It's a great organization, and we have a great industry. And I certainly know the Mahoney Group. You guys have got a great long history in Arizona, and you guys are a great firm. So welcome.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you very much.
Pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
So Dave has been part of Global Chamber from before the days of Global Chamber, and so he, with his firm, General Southwest Insurance, right next to the Arizona Country Club, we held some signature event called the League of Extraordinaries. One of the first ones we did, it was in his conference room, I think at the Arizona Country Club, actually, right close to your old office. Are you still working off of that office there, or wherever that is on Thomas?
No, my brothers and I sold that building, and
Okay.
I'm at 40th Camelback.
Okay, great. So thanks for all that you do, and thanks for your long support. One person that understands risk and risk management is Prati Gupta, and I see Prati. You're I don't know if you're available to speak, but Prati has moved at least 4 businesses from the Bay Area to Arizona, and he's just I'm a chemical engineer, and I was involved with materials like rubber and plastic, and so that's and polymers and things like that. So that's how I became a global guy, and so I'm maybe extra particularly excited by Praddy's involvement with Global Chamber these last years, not only because the semiconductor industry and his focus area is so important, has become so important, but his knowledge of materials is second to none. And so, Praddy, thank you for being on the advisory board for Global Chamber Phoenix and all the things that you do. Do you have anything going on that we should know about, or anything you'd like to ask about, or anything you'd like to share? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, so thanks a lot, Doug, for your leadership and connecting leaders in the area. I'm watching once again the Game of Thrones, so I it reminds me of all the lords who are here playing good. As you said about the risk management, I think right now the way things are in the semiconductor area, in Phoenix area, there are more, huge opportunities, or rewards are kind of outweighing the risk at present very well. I'm continued. I'm continue to be amazed at the kind of people, kind of businesses that are coming here and connecting with global chambers. So thanks a lot for all the effort that you're placing. And I was listening to Juneteenth announcement, and I think Jevin was saying something along the line of that the history, we can take lessons from the history to grow in the future. And very, very amazing line. And it just made my day. That is what I think we should take from the history. And I think that is true also in the semiconductor area. We should learn from the history of what has happened in whole country in the semiconductor area, and then what we can take from that to grow in the future, the businesses that are coming here. So, but thanks a lot for giving this platform to all of us.
Thank you. That's so important, and we've been talking about that actually in other meetings earlier today. That history is important. We need to learn from it. Usually, like what didn't work, but now we have a facilitation by AI as an example, or semiconductor industry is perfect, right? Because it doesn't matter what was done. It only matters the next generation and the next generation. And so we can get locked into the past and burdened by the past and weighted down by the past. And we can't do that. And Praddy, you've been a pioneer in that. So thank you for your leadership there. There's a couple people more. It looks like it's it's a very male oriented. Most of the members, it's like pretty gender balanced, but for some reason it's I think all men today, which is crazy. Jake Taylor is a new member of Global Chamber, but we've known each other through his Thunderbird graduation. I think you might have been the student president, a student club president, right? And he's one of the few people I interact with that's taller than me. And it's like my brother is a few inches taller than me, and I find it somewhat intimidating. So I try to think about that when I'm around other people too, being tall. I'm only 6'4", but Jake, you must be at least 6'7". And Kasum is a giant as well. He's physically not as tall as either of us, but he has a plan for in 12 years to be the Secretary General of the United Nations. And that's, we all should have dreams, and there's no reason why he can't, because he's smart, he's talented. He showed up, he texted me, he was our Global Chamber Sahel region, so born in Mali, lived in Abidjan and in that area, Burkina Faso, of that part of West Africa. And then suddenly I get this WhatsApp message saying, I'm here in Phoenix. I was like, oh, so that was about a year ago. Wow, that's amazing. So let's get together. And the next part of it is, and I'm going to be getting my master's degree at Thunderbird, which is so cool. And so he got his degree, and now he's got as many students have, and he's a student of life. He's further along and a very mature leader. He has immigration interesting challenges, and he's got other things that he's working on. So I'd love to hear from, or we'd love to hear from both of you. Jake, do you mind if we hear from Kasum first? And and if you can hang on, and Kasum, Kasum is our regional desk director for the country of Africa, but lo and behold, he's in Arizona of all places, and so you know Africa, you speak French, and that francophone region of Africa, you know very well in all of Africa. Is there anything you would like to share of things that we should be thinking about right now? Bonjour, by the way.
Okay. Bonjour, Doug. Good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure for me to be part of this meeting today. And I want to thank really Doug for welcoming me in Phoenix. I think that I came in Phoenix because Doug is here. Because before I came here in Phoenix, I never know about Phoenix in Arizona. But I was supposed to come to Washington to do my master's, but they told me to come to Phoenix, and I realized that Doug is leading one of the global instruments the US can have to connect the world and to contribute to the sustainable development of the people. So I want to also to make a testimony about Doug, because when I was young, 30 years ago, I wanted to come to the US because in my mind, I was part of an organization called ISEC. ISEC was the International Association of Students in Economics and Commerce. And I find that my friend Dave was part of this association also before. So it's a global organization. So I got my global mindset since I was 19, 20 years old. And that's, I wanted to come to the US to study and live here and to contribute to to be a bridge between US and Africa. I waited until 30 years later to be here. And being part of Global Chamber and now being part of that mission as Regional Desk Director for Africa, I think that this dreams comes true, where I can be in Phoenix, Arizona, in the US, and be a bridge between US and Africa. Because I know that the next frontier of a global economy will be Africa. And I want to dedicate all my life to that work between US and Africa, economically, culturally, socially, politically, of course. And I think that we can also make this change together, bringing together decision makers, political leaders, bringing entrepreneurs, investors, international trade leaders to make something incredible in our world. So Doug, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to contribute to build that big bridge between US and Africa, and to make Arizona one of the greatest state of the United States of America. In my vision, and this is something I want to do, is to make Arizona a new hub for global trade between US and Africa. This is very important for me. And I know that Arizona has amazing companies in terms of technology, pharmaceuticals, solar, different things we can export in Africa, but also we can bring also products from Africa to Arizona and to the US as global. One of the things I said that many people have done a lot of things at the Global Chamber in Africa. What we are going to do now in our mission is to continue to strengthen what has already been done. We'll bring some innovations, we'll bring some new activities, some new ideas, connecting the Global Chamber to African chambers of commerce inside the continent. This is something we can also handle as soon as possible, connecting African embassies in Washington, in New York, to the Global Chamber, and to see how we can deepen economic, social, and cultural relations between those two parts of the globe. But I think that also We have also some very, very amazing activities we can bring together with my school, Thunderbird. That's a global school of management. And we can also bring different people, actors, stakeholders to make this Africa strategy, this new Global Chamber Africa strategy live. And I'm sure that as soon as possible, together we can raise and make some global success. What we will do also, that's very important for me, though we are doing a lot of things online, but the next step will be to take delegation from the US to go to Africa through Global Chamber in person. That will be very important to organize trade missions, investment sessions, and I think that this is very possible. We have the people, we have the connection, and let's do it, and let's do that for our global success. I'm very happy to be here and to connect with all of you and to fix all my immigration or other things. And I think that will be do, son. And thank you, Dave, also. Dave has been introduced to me by Doug, and we are doing some quite good things together. And I'm so happy to have him also on board, and all of you. I'm so open to you from your ideas and to connect and to make things happen as soon as possible. Thank you. Happy Juneteenth holiday to all of you. It makes a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you, Doug.
Happy Jubilee. Thank you. We have trade missions coming up, and Eduardo Gonzalez is in the room, and we'll hear from him. But we've got one from Argentina. We've got one from the UAE. The one from Argentina, we're going to have a return trip next year. So watch for that, all of you. The person that's coming up has the potential to be a future president of Argentina, and he's got a trade mission, and he's got 2 people from the press. And so we've already set up a meeting with the governor and Mayor Gallego, and he's got a whole week, 1 day at the border and 3 days, 3 or 4 days in Phoenix. And so watch for that. And the UAE one is really interesting. It's our executive director in Dubai and covering all of the UAE, Ayman Alawadi. He and his brother Adel Alawadi inherited a business from their father, and they're I think the most connected people within the UAE, and so they'll be coming to Arizona later this year. This morning, I had breakfast with a Latvian group. It's the investment group for Latvia, and we're talking about putting something together as well that involves Arizona. So one person, Jake, who's in the room, is very involved with Kazakhstan, and I believe that region, Azerbaijan and others. Jake, what's going on with you, and what would you like to share?
Soon as my merry-go works. Thank you, Doug, for letting me come. So I have to backtrack because you said I was 6'7". I'm 6'10", right? Just so everyone knows.
Oh my God. That's why I'm so intimidated. Oh my
Not
Lord.
that we're counting here, but if you see me in a room, you'll know.
Unbelievable. Okay, now I understand why it feels big. Okay.
Yes, you just feel the looming presence, right? So I try to take advantage of that and capitalize it. But you don't have the same effect here in the room, everyone. I apologize. And now we see the source of Doug's insecurities when I'm standing next to him.
That's it.
But no, jokes aside, I appreciate the introduction, Doug. I have been working much more closely with Central Asia. I have to do a bit of a mini background, though, because I am native Arizonan, and I come from an organization called The Connective, which is a smart city consortium. Now, our role in the last 5 years was twofold. It was to work with the local municipalities, quasi-governmental institutions like SRP, if you know the utilities, around frontier technology adoption. Now, the second half of that coin came up is that the public sector is reshifting quite rapidly in that it's a much more competitive landscape. The determination to adopt or not a technology is taking place far before the vendors have an opportunity to introduce themselves. So when I was in Kazakhstan, I began to work with them. It's the Ministry of Innovation as well as the National Institute of Strategic Initiatives in Kyrgyzstan to help them shape policy in such a way that it opens the door for additional technology partners. Right now, if we really want to get into the geopolitical landscape, it's who are they going to buy from, China or the United States? Now, even more locally, it's how do we create pathways? Because it's not the same. You're not meeting them at conferences. You're not setting up delegations. This is taking place years and years and years before the requests for proposals come out. And so at Nextera, where I pivoted to most recently, is working with emerging markets around not just technology adoption, but how to ensure behavioral outcomes. Because the hallmark of the last 10 years of my career has seen 50,000, or excuse me, 50 million, $100 million projects go through years of development and then sit on a shelf. Because we fundamentally have forgotten how people operate. We have fallen into the trap of tech for tech's sake. We have fallen into the trap, and this will resonate, of trying to solve the problems of the world alone. We contribute to these problems together, and then we try to solve them in isolation, and that increases the gap exponentially. So the focus of my work is very squarely here in the public sector around technology adoption and implementation, but really in bridging solutions. Right. So as I work with Central Asia and other economies, it's about helping them see what others have done as well, so that we're not all trying to reinvent fire. I'll pause there for the sake of time, but Doug, if there's anything I missed, happy to dive in.
That sounds great. Thank you very much. We've got, let's see. So we have about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes left. And so Eduardo Gonzalez, are you available to say hi?
Yeah, I'm here.
So,
Can you hear me? Yeah.
So, yeah, I can. So Eduardo is an important person for all of you. He's ex-Mexico government, and through his work over decades on the banking side and on the manufacturing side, got to learn all of the manufacturing companies in Mexico. He knows everybody. And it's also allowed him to connect up on the US side as well. So he's deeply connected on both sides of the border with companies at a working level. And so he's a critical person to know. He helps them connect up and identify where they should manufacture and how they should. Should it be at a shelter company? Should it be on the Mexico side? Should it be on the US side? Should it be contract manufacturing? There's a variety of different options, and Eduardo is very familiar with all of those. He's also our advisory board chair for Global Chamber Phoenix, so he plays an important role. And we were going to give at least a brief update on some of the events that are coming up. But you had an event yesterday where you brought some dignitaries up from Baja, or over from Baja. Would you anything you'd like to share on that, or anything else?
Well, thank you, Doug. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so as Doug mentioned, I'm a recuperating government official from the Mexican government. I worked there for 24 years. Now I'm a consultant, thanks to the federal policies on my country, but now gladly in the U.S. melting pot and coming in from a totally different melting pot from Mexico. So as Doug was mentioning, we help companies on both sides of the border connect with and help with their business development and manufacturing needs. And yesterday we had the visit from a delegation from the state of Baja, and we had a presentation talking about how the two regions are interconnected in their supply chain businesses, because a lot of the manufacturing companies that are in Arizona, they are in that region, like the big guys, Honeywell, Collins, which is now RTX, and a thriving aerospace industry in that size, and biotech. They talk about that Intuit is there manufacturing the Da Vinci surgical robot over there in Mexicali. So there's a bunch of opportunities for companies to supply parts and services in that part. Not only it is a good opportunity for companies to go there to manufacture, there's also a good opportunity for business development. So that's what we do. We help companies on both sides, and Mexican states, of course, with their efforts to bring in more companies and integrate them into that supply chain. Some of the companies were not aware of the potential opportunities there. And right now is a great timing, because Arizona is going through a stress test. We got the TSMC investment, 80 companies in the pipeline, water, electricity. Yesterday, there was another delegation from Taiwan in the biotech. So I think we're going through a exciting time, but also will put the region through some stress tests. And I think having Mexico as a partner to assist in this current situation, where companies can tap into the resources on that side, be in talent or manufacturing opportunities, it's a great time. And just a brief comment, the US has is 2 goals above Australia. So that's also a good news for the US. One of the goals was scored by an Australian, but well, it counts. So soccer is a big thing in Mexico and currently in the world. So thank you, Doug. I'll put my email in the chat. Always available if somebody wants to have a longer conversation. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. We'll wrap up in a few minutes. I do want to mention one of our next big events is August 6th. So it's the 10th annual Women in Global Leadership, and I can disclose something that no one else knows except me, and that is with this event. The first couple of years, it was all women on the panel, and almost no men showed up. So it was like 95 women, 5 men at the first 2 years. No matter what we did the second year, we couldn't break it. The third year, we added a man on the panel. And that became then more 60-40. That was kind of the split. So since then, the next 8 years, including this year, we have one man on the panel that is an advocate for women and gender balance and working together, kind of what we started this meeting out for. Dr. Sanjeev Kagram, who's been the head of Thunderbird, who's our board chair at Global Chamber. He was the dean of Thunderbird for 8 years. He was one of those men. Norm Butler, who was then the number 2 person at Bank of America, was one of those people. And we've had some really amazing men. Last year was Hugh Holman, former mayor of Tempe, and just an extraordinary leader and on our advisory board. This year, you are the only ones that know that the man will be Don Guerra, who you may or may not know, but he is the leader of Barrio Bread, which is the number 1 bakery in the state of Arizona. He was born in Hermosillo. He was incredibly successful in Tucson, like lines of people lined up for the bakery to the point where he's now expanded into Phoenix. And probably some of you already know Barrio Bread. I know Don quite well and gave him a call this week. And he was very happy to set aside August 6th afternoon, 4 to 6, at Tracy Latham's factory, Latham Industries in North Phoenix. Mark, put that on your calendar. Hopefully you'll all be there in support of the concept of, we got to work together and find ways, man or woman, whatever your gender, we're gonna move things forward. We've only really got a couple minutes left. If you don't mind, Brad and Josh, this is your first exposure to Global Chambers. Hopefully, it probably feels like drinking from the fire hose. A little bit different kind of perception of kind of who we are and what we do. Hopefully, this is a positive experience for you. For us, it's been very positive to learn more about you, and we look forward to working with you going forward. What would you like to leave with us as we close the room?
You
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the time. This is quite an impressive group of individuals as a part of this. It's fun to see what's being built here on an ongoing basis. I know you guys have been around, or I guess we can say we now have been around for
Wow.
quite some time, the Global Chamber, and really, really just excited to get to know many of the members that are here and ways in which that we can work together and continue to build operations that benefit everybody. So thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you so much for the time.
Congratulations, 1915 and still going strong and continuing to be successful. Chris, did you have anything that you would like to add? Chris and I not only share Global Chamber and a lot of life philosophy, but we also have New York connections as well.
Right.
So, Chris, like the end of Friday and the weekend.
So you want me to put the
Father's
shameless?
Day this weekend too.
Yeah, Father's Day this weekend. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers. And I know you want me to put the shameless plug in for the New York Knicks. Congratulations to the NBA champions. And while I'm in Texas, I was one of the hardest championship series that I had to wrestle with because my wife is from San Antonio. And, it's a little different, but, we're happy that 53 years later, New York Knicks finally got it. So there you go, Doug.
Where were you in '73?
Oh, I was 4 years old watching Walt Frazier and my brothers celebrate. That's all
Oh,
I remember. Yeah, I remember Walt Frazier. That's the only person I remember, but I remember the celebration then and experiencing it now for myself.
Earl the Pearl, Willis Reed, Dave DeBuscher. I mean, I was 15 years old, and growing up in New York, it was a big deal. It was a really big deal. And so sports brings us together. And I think the point about the World Cup, too, those of you who have been to Olympics, first of all, I would say go to LA in a couple of years to go to the Olympics. There's almost nothing better from a global perspective to experience what happens at an Olympics. If you haven't been, you need to. The Salt Lake Olympics I was involved with personally from a tech company, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. And I highly recommend going to LA. And if you can, head to the World Cup and feel some of that energy because it's the world coming together. Even though many of us, soccer isn't our first sport, it's still a global thing, and it's a good thing. And by thinking globally, we're going to be better together. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Friday and weekend. Take care. Have a good Father's Day.
Take care.
Take care. Have a good one. Bye bye.
Thanks all. Thanks, Kasum.